from those couple thousand runners that participate here, they all become ambassadors of trail running, of how beautiful it is in the Alps. Inevitably, they will also realize, okay, we need to continue to protect these places, to love and take care of them.
Welcome, guys. We are here in the shadow of Mount Blanc. I'm Abby. I'm a podcast host and an ultra runner, and I'm just excited to talk about trail running and what it is and whether or not it can be an impact for good in this world. So maybe let's start with Liv here, and everyone can give just a brief introduction to who they are and what they do.
Thank you, Abby. Hello, my name is Liv Sansoz. I'm French. I live in the Chamonix Valley. I'm a former world champion in sport climbing, and I'm now a mountain guide. I'm 300 days a year in the mountains. I love being in the mountains, and I see it changing a lot because of climate change.
Hello, I'm Henny. I'm part of the outdoor industry, being in the making product creation, and now at on, passionate trail runner myself, always in love with nature, in love with everything that is out there, and tried my whole life to protect it as much as we can.
I'm Ella. I'm a polar climate scientist, mostly a penchant for cold places, mostly Antarctica, and I'm fascinated by all things outdoors, environmental, and my day-to-day job is seeing the effects of climate change, so really interested to talk about how that's affecting Chamonix and mountains and trail running.
And I'm Carl. I'm from Belgium, and my day-to-day job is being a dentist, but when I'm not working on people's teeth, I'm mostly in nature and in the mountains as a trail runner and ultra runner. And over the last couple of years I ran maybe 45,000 kilometers on trails in the mountains and beautiful places. So also for me, it's being in nature many hours and many days on end, and just seeing what's going on and being part of it, it's beautiful, and you see a lot in the mountains. Yeah.
Yeah, you have so many impressive world records with running. You kind of made a place for yourself in this ultra long distance world. Do you maybe want to give everyone an introduction to what trail running is, what the different distances are?
Yeah, for sure. So basically ultra running as a sport is technically anything beyond the marathon distance. And then racing wise, very popular distances are 50k, 50 miles, 100k, 100 miles. But what I have specialized in over the years is extreme distances, so that's also ultra running. And so my personal focus has been to run hiking trails like the Pacific Crest Trail, the Appalachian Trail, and run them as fast as possible while experiencing the trail and while taking it all in, and getting to beautiful places while also running long distances.
Moving very fast.
Yeah.
Liv, you've spent a lot of your life in the mountains. Do you want to maybe speak a little bit to what that has given you, spending so much time outdoors, what it has created for you?
Well, the mountains are something very, very powerful. They bring you energy, they make you feel very alive, and they also teach you life. They teach you to be true, to make the right decision, to how to survive sometimes, and they teach you a lot about yourself, who you really are. Because when you are on a 26 hours climb, technical climb, and it's hard, and you have to stay calm, you have to make the right decision, and you learn how to push yourself as much as you can to succeed and come back home.
Yeah, I think as mountain athletes, we know that the sport gives so much to us, and there is this kind of trail running revolution happening right now. Henny, maybe you can speak to what you need to start trail running. If there is someone out there who sees some of you guys who are crazy mountain athletes and they're like, oh, I want to start, what kind of gear do you think you need to get into it?
I think this is something that makes the sport so beautiful, is that you need shoes. To start with, that's it, and a trail. And it doesn't need to be in this beautiful mountain Chamonix. It can be the forest behind your house, it can be the park in the city you live, it can be the hills close to where you live. But it's a very simple sport. It's you need shoes and a little bit of nature, and as you evolve, maybe buy a t-shirt or shorts, but it's a when you go to ultra distances like Carrel or go up to the mountains, you would see you need a lot more gear and things to bring it. But at its base, when you're starting, it's a really simple sport. You need a little bit of nature and one shoe, a sock, and a t-shirt.
Yeah, I think
Hopefully 2 shoes.
Yeah,
yeah, of all of the mountain sports, I think trail running is the easiest to get into because the barrier of entry is the lowest. All you have to do is have shoes and be able to walk up into the mountains. So I think that's beautiful.
One thing that started people was COVID. Like people were locked at home or in cities, and then they needed to explore their local hill or their local park. So the biggest uptake of trail runners in the world was during COVID, and all these people that started trail running at that time now continue trail running, or the biggest majority that continue. So it's just people found a new passion, which is super cool.
Yeah, once you start, you cannot stop. With kind of this uptick, Ella, maybe you can speak to what trail running does to our ecosystems, how it contributes to maybe in a positive way and also maybe in a negative way.
Yeah, I guess like with any sport or any kind of event, you're going to have an environmental impact, and any kind of activity in the mountains, whether you're thinking about infrastructure or like people simply accessing these sorts of remote and potentially fragile environments, you're going to have an environmental impact, whether that's, on water resources or generating emissions of greenhouse gases that contribute to climate change. What's really changing the mountain environment is global activities, not necessarily specific runners going through the mountains. I think one thing that strikes me about trail running as well, though, is that it is so intimately related with the environment. People who are trail runners tend to be passionate about the environments they're running in. They really care, and I think that's probably true of all of you. We're sitting here in this beautiful, incredible place, and I think lots of people share that love of the outdoors, which means that trail running presents quite a unique opportunity to share that passion and to share that with people, to show why these environments are worth protecting, and simply by communicating why you love them, why you love being outdoors, like listening to you saying how amazing it is to be up on a mountain all of the time. That kind of opportunity means that the sport can be a force for good as well.
Yeah, and with that passion, I think like as mountain athletes, it almost feels like it's our responsibility to take care of the trails that we frequent so much. Like you start to feel almost an ownership a little bit over your local trail that you do laps on every day. So I'm going to leave this question open, but how do you think trail running helps to mitigate climate impact? Anyone have thoughts on that?
I think for me, it's going to be the fact that you can share that passion, and trail runners have an opportunity to help influence wider society and explain why it matters, and therefore be a force for good.
Yeah, I think also, like with UTMB that's going on this week, of course. There's always been a lot of discussion, how is it to have such a huge event in the mountains? And there are negative sides of it, and we can come to that later as well. But I always see it as a positive side, that there are a couple of thousand runners, trail runners, that looked forward to this moment. They train at home on the trails, they start to get passionate about trail running, and it's a low threshold event to participate in. You have many aid stations, they advise you a lot to participate. And so I think from those couple thousand runners that participate here, they all become ambassadors of trail running, of how beautiful it is in the Alps, and then inevitably they will also realize, okay, we need to continue to protect these places, to continue to love and take care of them. So I think that's the positive side of a huge event like this, that there are so many stories that are being shared, and people who get passionate like us about protecting nature and protecting the places we love.
Yeah, I think as mountain athlete we play a role in showing we want to do better for our planet, and doing this it shows it to your community first. As a mountain guide, when I have clients, I explain them we are in the mountains, we see the rock falls, we see the glacier going lower, and I can explain them and they get more aware of that, and it can create behind some change in their behavior. And also, I think we also have an important role to play with the brand we work with, because we can ask the brand to have less packaging around every t-shirt, every shoes. We can ask the brand to have less depellant, like the depellant product on the membrane. They can be very toxic for the snow and then the water, and it's the water you drink down in town. So we also have a role to play with the outdoor industry that has a lot of power to try to make things going in a better direction.
Yeah. I love the example of if you just would take the run here and you go to the Mer de Glace, like a run you were recommending us earlier, and then you run there, you see this beautiful glacier, like almost like nature touches you, and you have this moment like wow, and the sport allows you to feel nature again. But then at the same time, when there's run, you see the glacier level where it is, and there's the markings on the wall where the glacier was a few years ago. And unless you're there and you see this, and you're like, wow, this is crazy, and this is happening now, and this is 10 years ago, and it's 20 meters lower. So by giving people the chance of seeing this, or experience this, not only this glacier, or a forest or something, you see the impacts that we cause in nature as well. I think it makes people more aware of how much you need to protect nature and how much you need to care about these things. So I'm a believer that the more people experience nature and the more they are in nature, the more they would want to protect. So I think that's one of the benefits that trail running can bring, of making people experience nature and see these things in real life.
Right, you can't want to protect something you don't love and appreciate. Yeah. The first time I went to Antarctica, it was a life-changing experience because I'd worked on this environment in theory in my head. I had an understanding of what it was like, and then going there, I didn't think it would have such a profound impact, but everything just falls into place. You're like, wow, okay, I finally get it. Yeah. And that really ignites a kind of passion that makes you really want to work to protect these sorts of environments. And it's the same when you come to the mountains. It's a really spectacular thing to see and to be part of nature. And if you appreciate your part in nature, you're more likely to be able to take those actions and inspire others to do the same.
Yeah, I think with trail running, like for me, it started with like seeing trash on the trails and being like, oh, that's so annoying. And then just picking it up and carrying it down. And then it gets to a point where, like you were talking about, seeing the glacier and seeing the markings, where like the problem becomes personal, and then you feel a personal need to kind of change something. So what are some things that trail runners can do? Maybe Ella, you can speak to this, to mitigate this impact on the environment.
Well, I suppose on a very individual level, it's, you can do things like picking up the trash and talking to your neighbours and talking to your friends about it. Obviously, when we're talking about climate change, it is a global problem. It's not something that any one individual can have a huge life-changing impact on. Of course, we all can do our bit, but ultimately, individual action is only part of the story. And to really combat the issue, it takes a community approach. It takes a worldwide community approach. It takes a community of trail runners. It takes a community in nations and international. So I think we need all sorts of actions, and each thing that you can do working to your strengths is going to be valuable. For me, the thing that I like to recommend is to get together with other people in a community and campaign for changes, whether that's from organisations or businesses or your government, local, regional, whatever. That's really important. But also talking about it with people and sharing why you care about it and why it matters to make those changes. That's really important. And then when we're talking about other stuff, the impact on water resources, for example, it's being mindful of what you use, trying to, with branding and things like this, like you were saying, like changing the way that products are created, and being aware of the waste that's created or the chemicals that are used, and picking up trash, of course, this kind of thing. All of those matter. because the impacts on the environment are not just about climate change, right? It's, of course, that's a huge thing. You know, the mer de glace has reduced by 1/3 in size since, you know, the 20th century, and it's probably going to be mostly gone by the end of this century. So it's huge. The changes we're seeing in mountain environments and the polar environment generally are enormous, and we are probably going to see half of the world's mountain glaciers disappear, but we've still got time to take action to protect the remaining half. So it's really important that we do these things to protect these environments that we all love and care about.
And
Yeah.
yeah, like for me as a trail runner and having done so many kilometers in the past, I think it's always been like the duality of like global things going on with global warming and air traffic and pollution and things like that. And sometimes as a nature lover, it feels overwhelming to feel that it's complicated to do something yourself. I mean, yeah, you can fly less and you can have your impact that way and you can communicate about it. But what works for me personally is, on a personal level, it helps to pick up that piece of trash, and it's going to have way less of an impact than skipping a flight or something, but I need those small positive vibes to stay motivated in the whole discussion as well, because if I'm only thinking and wondering about what we do and our total impact on the planet, sometimes it's even depressing to realize what's going on. And then when you are volunteering for trail work, when you are picking up trash, when you are being part of the community, those are positive things that continue the story to do something the coming years. But for me that helps to combine flying less with not flying anymore, with the small things that are very tangible and that you feel, okay, it's something small but I did something, and to stay positive in the whole story.
It's like this starfish story, right? Where it matters, you walk along a beach, there's loads of starfish strewn on the beach, and you throw them back in the sea, and sure, in the grand scheme of things, you're not doing much, but it really matters for that starfish. It really matters for that trail that you're helping to pick up the trash and preserve it and make it better for everyone else. So yeah, those individual actions may be a drop in the ocean, but you know, many drops make an ocean.
Yeah, someone once said, I'm not gonna quote because I don't want to sure who said it, but it was like, you don't need to do everything, but you need to do everything you can. And if everybody does everything you can, it will be already so much better. So it's like all these little actions in community and in your level and in your house and in your neighborhood and in your government and in your country, everything summed up at one point. I think we already see so much happening in the world to the positive side. If we keep pushing, I think, faster and faster and stronger, I think hopefully we'll see a lot of changes.
Yeah, and I think too, like, you guys are like athletes that I really admire, and I look to like as an example of like training or mindset, but also like the way that you treat the environment. And I think you've done a good job of showing us like little ways that you can change things and make the environment kind of a better place. Do you have any role models that kind of helped you early on in your, I don't know, climate change era of like, oh wow, I see someone else making this change and I feel like I can also make an impact?
Well, I think for me it started with my parents. They were not role models, but they taught us to protect the nature, to protect the mountains. Very young with my brothers, they were always like, the mountains are a fragile environment. You have to protect them. You have to not leave any trash. You have to be protective. And I think it starts from that, from your parents, from education, to show you that the water is not going here forever. The glaciers are not going here forever. The nature is fragile, and we have to be careful.
For me, it's Kilian Journey, a big ultra runner, of course. But he was, to me, one of the first who was openly communicating about the things that were going on and who was actively making action. And still now also with UTMB, he's taking action as well. And so, yeah, he's definitely someone I look up to, because it takes a lot of courage as well to step aside from the system, so to speak, and to dare to stand up, because in reality, it's against the people who are paying him or who are getting him to races or something like that. So when it's your profession, it's difficult to start a discussion and to really go for it. So he's a big inspiration for me, for sure.
Yeah, and I think the more time that you do spend in the mountains, the more people will look to you to see, oh, what are they wearing? What are they eating? And how are they like treating the trails that they're running on, which is very cool. Are there any specific like environmental like actions, like Protect Our Winters had a really cool quiz that I actually took in preparation for this, just to see like, oh, like what am I doing that I could change? Are there any other like movements that anyone is aware of that maybe trail runners could use to take action with?
Well, Protect Our Winters is doing a really good job on many things, but there are a lot of other organizations. I think it's important if people want to do better. So, like we said, the individual action are a very small part of trying to go to the better direction, but they are important. Then getting involved into organizations like Protect Our Winters or Mountain Wilderness or other organizations, there are many. It's very important. And also go vote for the right people who will make some. We need some people who take the proper decision in the government to go to a better direction. It's something, yeah. It's something very important. And regarding different organizations, with other athletes, we created an organization called, in English it will be about a bottle in the water, and it was regarding packaging, because when you get your clothes, when you get your gear, your climbing gear, or even your shoes, you have so much packaging around everything. At the end of the day, you can go to the recycling with 2 big bags of plastic and paper. And yeah, I think there are many actions people can take. Like we created this organization and spoke with companies, with the brands, to try to reduce this. So if you don't use the plastic and the paper, you don't produce it. You don't have to recycling. It's a win-win on every step. And I guess there are many other organizations like that you can get involved. And it's important, if you have time and if you have the willing to do something better, to get involved and do some work with those type of organization. Yeah.
I just find there's a lot of get involved in the communities, on the community level, on the local level. There's so much going on there already as well. Also related to environment. Like we travel a lot we meet a lot of runners and running clubs and running associations, and if you see what they do in their little local town, their little local coastal area, or their little local mountains, it's beautiful to see. So the more we can empower them to actually bring this message across, and in their own community level, which is a word of mouth in the end, in that community that spreads through the valley, that spreads to the next valley. I think there's a lot there that we can influence and help these communities in every place to bring this message across and help educate people.
Yeah, I agree. I think like hearing of all of your like FKT attempts, you've spoken a lot about community and how important that is in trail running. And I think really with our sport, that is where the power lies, is in community and in just the people around us. So I want to thank you all for being here and for sharing everything that you've shared today. It's a beautiful scene, and even just like being here in Chamonix makes me want to like take care of it a little bit better. So thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.